So we were about a month in to 2026, and so far it has been intensely boring, especially compared to 2025, which I think was probably the year where things changed the most for me. I actually haven't uploaded on this channel since I think maybe September, and that's a shame really, because the whole point of this YouTube channel was for me to document my life so that I could look back on it in the future. And currently there's a big window of time where it appears that nothing has happened, when in fact that is the period of time where most things that happened last year happened. So this is updates. I mean, first and foremost, I moved. I no longer live with my parents for the first time in my life. Me and Abby have moved in together for the first time. We've got an apartment in Liverpool, and that has been fun and amazing and stressful and crazy. And I'm actually like so happy with the place that we've got, and I love living here. Every day I wake up and look out the window and I cannot believe that I live here. But it's also been the source of a lot of general chaos. Like, I feel like I'm out on my own now for the first time ever. And obviously I'm not fully alone because me and Abby are living together, but I just mean, like, this is my responsibility, and I've never had this level of responsibility before. We did film a moving in vlog, but when I started editing it together, I was just kind of like, this is just footage of us like building furniture and stuff. So I was like, oh, I'll do an apartment tour. So I filmed an apartment tour, and upon trying to edit it, I was like, this is also kind of shite. So let's just say it's a nice little apartment. It's in Liverpool. It's got a sick view. Here is the view. I'm super happy with it. I love it, mate. Although it is stressful having to pay rent, especially considering last year was the first year that I earned the majority of my money from playing music, which obviously, even though the level that I'm at isn't like the dream, it's still a step towards the dream. I mean, not having to have like a real job or a job that I actually hate has been the thing that has changed my life the most. But with that comes a certain level of instability. For example, one of the reasons January has been so boring is because it's been pretty dead work-wise. Although I do think I have been lucky compared to what some people's Januaries have been like. Generally, live music tends to die out for January and a bit of February, and then ramps back up in the summer. And if I still lived at home, that'd be fine. But now I've got to pay rent, so that is some stressful shit. I think this year is going to be good though. I do have faith that everything's going to be fine, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But some other things happened in 2025. I turned 27. Birthdays are normally a source of like existential dread for me. I think this year, more than recent years, I just felt so much more comfortable with being the age that I am. I enjoyed being 26. It was a really good year. And turning 27, the only thing that's really changed is I definitely feel like I'm the oldest I've ever been, which I know is quite an obvious thing to say. But what I mean is, when I'm around people who are like in their early 20s, I notice that I am not that anymore. Don't get me wrong, I still feel like a kid sometimes. I still feel like I'm out here and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm well aware that I'm definitely over the hump and on the way to 30. Like, I can't say I'm in my if your mid 20s is like 24, 25, 26, I am now in my late 20s, but I'm all right with it, man. I'm all right with it. I think my life's at a decent place. And also, I don't always think it's a good thing to do that thing where you like zoom out and look at your life like a timeline, because then you're comparing that to where you think you should be along that timeline. While that's definitely something that I can fall victim to, and I know a lot of people do, I try as much as I can to just think about my life in terms of like the experiences that I've actually had, as opposed to where I should be. Like, yeah, financially, really, I could have afforded to have moved out 3 years ago, but would things have been as good as they are now? Probably not. Would I have been able to have the experiences I did have because I didn't move out 3 years ago? Probably not. So I'm happy with being 27. I feel comfortable with it, and I'm optimistic. I think I know more than I've ever known compared to like 21-year-old me, 22-year-old me. Things that used to faze me just don't even scratch the surface anymore. One thing that I do want to work on in 2026 is, if I'm being honest, my self-confidence. I think for the majority of my 20s, I've always presented as quite a confident guy. And even in my teens, I think in terms of my like ambition for my career and stuff like that, I always presented as if, okay, I'm doing this, I know what I'm doing, and it's going to happen. But I just think in recent years that because some of the expectations I set for myself as a teenager haven't necessarily panned out the way I thought they would, it's given me that like self-doubt of like, oh, like maybe you aren't the shit. And I'm not saying people should think that they're the shit, but I think you need some degree of thinking you're the shit to actually be able to achieve things. So this year, I want to just be a bit more carefree in that respect. I don't want to doubt myself as much. I think jumping into the profession of musician over the past few years, you know, going from having that as a hobby or an aspiration to having that now as my reality, and having to mix with other musicians and accept that maybe I am not as talented as some people, I'm not as knowledgeable as some people. I think at first I tried to mask that and put up a facade of trying to be something that I wasn't. Whereas I think I'm slowly starting to settle into the fact that, okay, just because I'm not the same as someone else doesn't mean that I can't bring value. So this year, I just want to be a bit more comfortable in my own skin in that respect. Something that's really going to challenge that is the fact that I am once again going to be working on board cruise ships. For those of you who haven't seen my videos before, I went on a trip in late 2024 where I spent 10 days aboard the Celebrity Apex cruise ship as a guest entertainer. Now at that time, I'd not long been working with the band that I went aboard with, so it was very stressful. I very much felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I was still in the very early days of transitioning into being a professional musician. It is that same band that I'm going away with again this year. However, now I definitely feel more comfortable with them. I feel more confident. I feel more prepared, and I'm super excited to get out there because 2025 was the first year since COVID ended really that I didn't go abroad anywhere. Obviously 2022 was my sort of big travel year, the year that I started this channel. I did bits in 2023 and 24, but because we knew we wanted to move to Liverpool towards the end of the summer last year, I was really just trying to save my money. So to get the opportunity to be able to go and work away this year is something that I'm really excited about. Obviously, I am going to be taking you along with me. And to be honest, that might very well be the next lot of videos that appear on this channel, but you might have to wait a little bit for that because the first one isn't until March, and then I'm also away in April, and then again in November. Amongst all this, I would like to try and fit in one of my big goals from last year that I didn't manage to achieve. Like I say, I was saving to move out, and that meant that I didn't go to Australia. I'm not really sure if my aspirations to go to Australia is something that I've mentioned on here before, but it's now been 10 years since my Australia trip in 2016. That was a trip that definitely changed me for the better. And I think before I get too old, it sounds so stupid. Obviously, I'm not old, but like, I want to do it while I'm still in my 20s, and the sooner the better. So I'm currently hoping to be able to go to Australia and maybe also a bit of Thailand. So hopefully I can make that a reality. There are also a few things that have crossed over from last year's sort of, it wasn't a list of resolutions, but more like a list of aspirations. For example, in 2023, I climbed Mount Snowdon. In 2024, I wanted to do the other two peaks. So that's the highest mountain in England, Scafell Pike, and the highest mountain in Scotland, which is Ben Nevis. Towards the front end of last year, we did manage to climb Scafell Pike. And if you haven't seen that video already, after you've watched this, go watch it because I think it is one of my favourite videos I've ever made. So this year, me and the boys want to do Ben Nevis. Obviously, it's a bit more difficult because it's up in Scotland, so we are going to have to like stay over, which means there's money involved and there's 4 of us trying to do it, so trying to align our schedules is difficult, but I really want to get that done this year. Currently, we're looking at like May time, so hopefully I'll be able to do that and vlog the shit out of it. Also on the list, carrying over from last year, is I want to learn to DJ. I got a set of decks, just like a really cheap set of decks for my birthday in October, and I have started to have a play with them, but that's something I really wanted to do last year, but didn't get around to. So hopefully this year I can make that a bit of a reality. Other than that, a lot of my aspirations are music-based, work-based. You may know this, but for the past almost 10 years now, my main creative project has been a band called Strangers. That band is now coming to an end. This is actually the first time I've said this. We haven't announced it on our socials yet. We haven't talked about it on our podcast yet, although we will. And while there's a slight sadness to that, I think we were kind of beating a dead horse towards the end of it. So it does feel like a bit of a relief to be able to put that chapter to bed, close that off. I'm intensely proud of the work that I did. You know, that has been my life's work so far. That's been my passion project, all the songs and the records that we put out with that band. And while it's sad that it didn't achieve the potential that I imagined for it when I was younger, I'm super excited for the next chapter, which is going to be a solo project. I think I just need to be able to do something where I don't have to necessarily answer to other people, where I can work with collaborators, but on my own terms. So hopefully there's going to be some new music in the next couple of months, which I'm very, very excited for. I realized towards the back end of last year that I was essentially involved in too many different projects. It wasn't necessarily that I was overworked, but I wasn't able to put an adequate amount of time into any of the things I was doing because I had my fingers in too many pies, basically. So this year, I've really tried to narrow that down to just a couple of things. Obviously, outside of my work as a professional musician, I want to launch this solo career, and that'll probably become my main creative focus. Looking at last year, it's like I was trying to make YouTube videos and barely doing any. I had the band, I was dabbling in this like ambient solo project that I might still do bits of here and there. Started to work on other people's music. I had the podcast, and really none of them were successful because I couldn't really dedicate myself to any of them. So this year I've narrowed it down to the solo project, and I think the podcast is going to be a big focus for me. If you don't know, me and Sean, my strangest bandmate, do this podcast called the Starving Artist Podcast, and for the past year it's kind of just been us chatting shit about creativity, the music industry, the arts world. But I really want to put some time into it this year and try and get some guests on, really just trying to like crank out some good episodes and try and build a bit of an audience. You'll notice that I say that this YouTube channel isn't one of my priorities, and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be uploading by any means. Like I say, there is a lot of cool shit that I'm going to be doing this year that I'm going to want to vlog. And I love this channel, like I hold it so dear to me. And part of the reason for that is because it's just for the love of it. But that means that I'm not going to be able to dedicate a whole load of time to it, because if I want to like actually progress in the sort of career avenues that I want to go down, this is going to take a backseat. And I say going to take a backseat as if it's not always kind of been on the backseat. Like I looked before, and this channel started in February 2022, so that's like 4 years ago. And I think I've uploaded like 53, 54 videos. So like per year, compared to what most people do, and especially in the current climate of like people pumping out content, that is literally nothing. So I think the approach is kind of just going to be to like upload when I'm doing stuff. I definitely went through a phase where I thought I should upload just because I've got a YouTube channel and you're supposed to upload to it. But I don't want to film stuff if it's not worth filming. And I'm not the kind of person who like stages content or plans videos. I'm very much the kind of person who just likes to film stuff that is already happening and then make a sick video out of it. So this year, that is what I'm going to do. Cruises are going to be filmed. Climbing Ben Nevis is going to be filmed. If I go to Australia, that'll be filmed. But I'm not just going to like film me hanging out in a flat, because to be honest, like my life is pretty boring at the minute. So there you go. That is the updates, that is the plans. If somehow you've made it to the end of this video and you've never seen me before, do subscribe. I do like travel stuff, life stuff. I guess you'd call it like lifestyle stuff, I don't know. Occasionally talk about music, occasionally talk about fitness. Just a channel about nothing really, let's be real. But yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful 2025, and I hope you're all gonna have a great 2026. I'll leave you with this one thought. 2022 was probably the best year of my life so far, just in terms of like raw experience. And I think part of that was because at the end of 2021, I said, this is gonna be the best year of my life and I'm gonna make it sick as fuck. And I think I need more of that attitude now. And I think you should have that attitude too. So let's have a sick fucking year. Peace.